Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have the Toyota 500 second Darlington race for the Cup Series. Rain's looking about 60 to 80%, unfortunately, so we're not 100%. We're going to be able to get that race in, but we're going to talk about it from a fantasy perspective anyway, because if it gets canceled, they're just moving it to tomorrow. It'll be about, I believe it was 7 p.m. Eastern, and we have the Xfinity race already postponed, and it is going to be taking place on, I believe it is 12 o'clock Eastern. We're going to be doing that race. So if we don't get it tonight, we're going to have two races tomorrow, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. So from a fantasy perspective today, there's a few things I'm going to share from my cheat sheet. We're going to go over here in a minute as well. Just make sure that you can hear me. If you can't hear me, let me know. I will make some adjustments. And for my test, it is not sounding like you can hear me. So I will just make some adjustments to the settings. See if that's possibly better. If you could just throw it in chat if you can hear me or not, that would be excellent. Oh, you can hear me, perfect. I don't know why on my end. If you can hear me or not, I cannot. I have a separate screen open just so I can test and see if there's sound coming through, but I can't hear it. So if you can hear me, that's awesome. Thanks, Steve. Really appreciate that. I'm just going to share the link quick here on Twitter and Facebook. See if anyone else wants to watch. How was everyone's first race go? Okay, I'll get that out to YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. So fire away with any of your questions. Cash for 546 on 503. Yeah, no shit, what a grind. I didn't end up too hot on DraftKings. I believe the FanDuel ended up all right for me. So I'm going to share my screen here in just a second, and I want to go over a couple things that I added for this race, just to kind of maybe help us out a little bit. First of all, finishing first to 20th last week, invert. So if you finished first, Kevin Harvick, he's going to start 20th. If you finish 20th, you're going to start first. So that makes things a little bit interesting right off the bat. I'm going to slide over and just have a quick look at that. So, I mean, we're talking about Ryan Preece, Ty Dillon, Joey Logano, Clint Bowyer, Ryan Blaney, Ryan Newman, DeBenedetto, Keselowski, Almirola, and Dillon are your top 10 starters this week. Out of those guys, I mean, I'm only really looking at Brad Keselowski in terms of a dominator pick, someone can get up front. I don't think any of those guys are going to be able to do that. So that's the way I am looking at that. And then obviously Kevin Harvick's going to be a great play starting 20th. He's using the same car. He brought the same car back. Not all guys do, and I couldn't get all the information of who did and who didn't. So unfortunately, I don't have that information, but I know Kevin Harvick definitely brought that same car, so just waiting for a few more people to jump in here before I share my screen. And this is making it very slow, so just give me 2 seconds and I'll share this. Can't spell right in that chat, that's all right. Take it easy on me, Kenny, I can't spell good. Okay, then I'm going to erase some stuff off my screen so it's maybe a little bit faster. And we're operating now. Peak efficiency. Here we go. Okay. So let's share the screen. We've got a few people in here watching now, about 13. Appreciate you all joining me today. Like I said, the race is supposed to start at 6 p.m. Eastern. That is just under 2 hours for us here. I did hear you. If it does get rained out, we got about 68% chance of rain. If it does get rained out, the race is going to be 7 p.m. tomorrow night. The Xfinity race has already been moved to tomorrow at noon, so we could have 2 races. But it looks like there's a bit of a window here where they can get that race in today. So I'm kind of liking them to go ahead with that. So I mean, we're going to grind it out. Either way, I'm going to be setting my lineups. Because that's just going to move over tomorrow. Nothing's really going to change. The only thing that would actually change is that the Cup cars would then get to use the track with some rubber down after the Xfinity race, which I guess would kind of mitigate some of the advantage that the experienced drivers have, just because there'd be a little bit more grip on the track. But we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But I'm going to jump across here, and I'm going to show you what I added on the sheet. Been talking about it for 5 minutes, just talking it up. So here we go. See if I did this right. Okay, now we're into the sheet. So I've got it sorted by qualifying order right now. So if you go back over here, you got your track history grid. And if you're using the sheet and you make your own copy, like if you go up to File at the top, create your own copy, name it, you can go in and you can have an editable version where you can start sorting these rows, which makes it a lot easier. Like even from my main sheet that I provide you guys, I go ahead and make a copy of it so that I can, one, do this show and be able to sort columns without messing everyone else that's using the sheet up, and two, so that I can sort individual columns. Like if I want to go and sort last 5, then I just go up to data and sort A to Z, which would be lowest to highest, and it shows you the guys who are the best average finish over the last 5. So you can always go back to my YouTube channel, RotoPros YouTube channel, and go check out the cheat sheet tutorial video. It's going to teach you a lot about that stuff. What I want to show you here in terms of this race, I went and added the Sunday race stats, as you can see here at the top. So what we've got here is each driver's top 15%, so the number of laps that they ran inside the top 15 during the race. This is going to be more like, obviously the top guys I've got a lot of high percentages here, but we do see some guys that maybe didn't run inside the top 15 a whole lot. And even when we start getting down into the value range, we can really start sorting top 10, top 15 percentage. And I will get back to anyone that has questions. I'm not viewing the chat at the moment while I'm sharing the screen, but I will get back to that. Give me just a few seconds. So like for instance, we start looking at this and we come down here and we see Custer and Bell. Like value is tough to come by this week because, like I said, the top 20 are inverted from the top 20 finishers last week, and then everyone starts where they finished, 21st to 40th or 39th. So that makes it tough to kind of find some value. So that's why I really wanted to add this. So one, just to see where they ran, and then we've got average running position as well. So that's another thing that stood out for me in terms of Custer and Bell kind of in that sub 7K range, is they both ran 18% of inside the top 15, which is pretty high considering anyone under 7K that didn't kind of finish up front. And then we've got over here their average running position. I got lost on the sheet for a second. There we go. So they finished 20th average running position. They're starting 22nd and 24th. So that's a little bit of positive there for me. The passing differential wasn't very good for Cole Custer, and that's just pretty much how many green flag passes they had minus how many green flag passes, how many times they got passed during the green flag. So that's a minus 20 for him. So I do like Bell a little bit better because of that new information that we have there. I'm going to go back and sort this by salary. So at the top, definitely my number one play. Yeah, so I'm going to switch that around. There, now I'll get the chat up at the same time. I knew you could do it, Chris. Okay. Haven't seen a sheet for today. It was updated on RotoPros, as well as I posted it to my Patreon as well for the Cup race. And then for DFSR, it is on the Chris's Sheets page. If you go to the top menu, slide down from other sports, it'll say Chris's Sheets, and then all my sheets are listed there as well. So at the top, my favorite driver, he's number one in the model. He was my number one last week, picked to win, total dominator. So I'm going back to the well. I mean, he's using the same car. He's starting 20th this time, so he's got place differential a little bit more. He starts that. He's going to be number one for me. And then kind of sticking in that top range. Kyle Busch looks decent, starting 26th. I mean, I really like that, except for the fact that, where are we here? Top 15 percentage is only 35%. So, I mean, that's huge when looking at all these top tier drivers. Kyle just wasn't in the top 15 a whole bunch. Average running position of 18th, only a +6 pass differential. And he's the most expensive driver again. Harvick should probably be the most expensive. Harvick should probably be in that 12.5 range. If we're having Kyle at 12, I would definitely swap the prices at least. But I think Harvick's worth a little bit more. Not going to have a whole bunch of Busch, but I mean, starting 26th, he's probably going to be more GPP for me. Unfortunately, Dane, I cannot get you in there. I've got the video set up through OBS Studios, and I don't have the screen share with the Zoom call set up. So I'll get you in. We'll do another one here. We're going to do a pre-race show for Charlotte, and if tomorrow's races even go, we'll probably do it maybe during one of the races, maybe tomorrow night's race or something like that. We can do a live show and talk about Charlotte coming up and some track history and stuff like that. But okay. So I'm jump across here. Who's your, I guess, well, I got you, you're watching the chat here, Dane. Who are your top three, to win, not even dominators? Actually, let me rephrase that question. This is a little bit more interesting. I've had this asked a few times today. Of those guys, I'm going to sort the sheet here by qualifying order. Which one of these guys starting top 10 do you think can lead the most laps? I'm picking Keselowski. He led early on last week. I'm picking him again. Logano kind of 71% top 15, but his average running position was around 12. Keselowski was the only driver with 100% top 15 running percentage and almost led the field with average running position. Kind of faded there a little bit in the middle, but had a solid run. So we go back and we look at how he's done in the past. 13th, so that's kind of declined a little bit, but before that, I mean, we talked about him. He had won 3, that would be 2018. He's had top 5s in 3 of his last 6 races here, so I'm definitely looking at him as my top dominator in that range. If you're looking at those drivers, because I personally don't think there's any way that we see anyone else outside of Logano who's going to stick up front and lead a bunch of laps just kind of based off the speed that they had last week. So I think Keselowski can definitely get up there early on and lead some of those laps early. But again, I think Harvick can definitely win back-to-back races here, and I think he can get up there and lead a bunch of laps too. It's 20th, starting from 20th. It's probably going to take him a stage to get up front. I mean, it took him a little bit longer than that last week from 6th before he really dominated the race, but they made the right changes, and so using the same car, same setup. I think Harvick has the best chance to get up there and lead the most laps again today. If I had to, as a top dominator overall, not just early, but overall, I definitely like Alex Bowman. He started 19th as well, but he had the best average running position last week. Okay, you like Logano. It makes sense. I mean, he's closer to the front. It's going to not take him as long to get up there, so I definitely respect that. Starting 3rd, 2nd row. He could be up there by lap 2, even by lap 1. I mean, he's only got to pass Preece and stuff, so. Yeah, Preece is definitely, Bowyer is definitely interesting if he can get up front early. And then just kind of going down the list here, looking at a few other drivers that stand out to me. As you can see on that list there, I got it sorted a little bit different. But going down, sort this again. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Wrecked out first lap last week, so it was kind of terrible for him. But I don't think we can fade him at 7,900, even 6,400 in FanDuel is even better. Starting 39, starting dead last, like positive place differential. Even if he does crash again, I still think he can gain those 9 spots, get inside that top 30, and he is a guy that has that top 15, top 20 upside. He showed it here. It's a tough track, but he's got a 12th here in 2018. Top 20s in almost half of his races here. So even a top 20 starting 39th, that gives him 20 bonus points, 19 bonus points right around there, run for that place differential. Makes a lot of sense at that price for him. And then because of that, I think going back to Chris Buescher, which we talked about last week, makes a lot of sense as well. He finished 32nd. He had top 20s, top 17s in his 4 previous races here. And then going over and just looking, yeah, he was only 3.1% in the top 15. Not great on that. Same with the pass differential, the average running position. It's more of a pivot off of Stenhouse, so I think it's going to gain some ownership, just starting 39th this week, even though Busher's not going to be super low owned starting 32nd by any means. But he does have top 20 upside starting outside the top 30. So those two guys I'll definitely be looking at kind of in that 8K range. Kurt Busch and Eric Jones just above them, K range on DraftKings. I definitely like both of them as well. Eric Jones was awesome, 97.6% inside the top 15 last week. Plus 10 passing differential, average running position. Both of them are right about the same. Kurt Busch fell out of the top 15 there for a little bit. That was pretty much the only difference in their statistics from last week. Kurt gives you nice place differential starting 18th. Pretty much a lock for cash. If you're going that way, you can build a nice balanced lineup, even with Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick with some of the lower end place differential guys on DraftKings anyway. I like going a little bit more balanced on FanDuel in terms of possibly. Eric Jones, 13th. That's kind of limiting his place differential upside, but a top 10 is definitely not out of the question. He's done it 4 straight times here at Darlington, including a win. So I'll definitely be looking at him. That ownership might go down just a little bit for him, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'd rather fade Johnson, Busher, Byron, or Stenhouse. I'd rather fade Busher, to be honest with you. He's probably got... It's tough to say in terms of equipment, but the Chevys are definitely the best cars. Jimmy just got in an unfortunate accident. I kind of missed Byron's. I believe he blew a front right and then ended up spinning out and hit. They both had fast cars, so I'm definitely not fading Johnson and Byron. Stenhouse differential upside. So it really comes down to if you're picking one of those 4 that you're going to get rid of, I'm definitely getting rid of Busher. Yeah, I just like that. For, in terms of Busher versus Stenhouse, looking at it on that +7 more place differential on DraftKings, that's one thing I'm looking at. And then the same, where are we here? Yeah, Busher's got the better track history. Stenhouse has got a little bit better place differential. So, it's pretty tough in terms of that deciding, but I'm definitely going Stenhouse over Busher myself today. Okay. And I was in the mid-7s. I'm going to go down a bit. Kenseth is now starting 11th. Don't like that. Like, this is kind of a crappy range where we're not getting much place differential. We're not getting a bunch